right, hello Sooner Nation. Kind of late start on it tonight. Snowy, ice, snowageddon up north here. So,
Yeah.
uh, me and Steve were just sitting here talking about all of the OU's woes, and I'm like, well, we might as well get on here and tape it. So, we're going to talk about it. Might as well get on here and
So
tape it. But
Jeremy and I talked. If you're here for a lot of basketball, whinging, to use a Game of Thrones term, if you're here for that, go back to our emergency pod. That's where we really go into depth with the death of this program. But once again, if you were one of the Marines, the few and the proud who watched the game last night, there was no fight. We were outclassed. Florida, interesting dynamic there. Us and Florida both entered into SEC play undefeated. One of those teams has continued to rise, number 2 in the country. The other one's Oklahoma. And, here's our 5 games we've got left. Jeremy, you tell me where the win is here. And still stand by what I've been saying. Got to get 20 wins. So we got to win, 4 of these going forward. Mississippi State at home. Mississippi State just beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Kentucky at home. And Kentucky's kind of fighting for their lives a little bit. Their backs are against the wall. They've dropped some games. At Ole Miss, Chris Beard wouldn't mind having that guy. Mizzou at home, didn't go real well up in Columbia. And at Texas. And, Porter
Texas is maybe the only one that I'm like, possibly.
And, Porter's never beaten Texas. So, would it stun me to lose those 4 and then for whatever reason win that game is maybe a farewell to the sunset for Porter? No, it wouldn't. But at the same time, if you're asking me, Goss, how many more games are we going to win? 0 is my answer. So, Jeremy, any lingering hoops thoughts you want to throw out there before we move on?
Didn't you notice, though? I don't know if it's just I noticed a little bit more just because I was just curious how we're going to respond. The talent discrepancy between us and Florida. I mean,
realistically, Fears is the only guy that matched, right?
Mm-hmm. Fears, it's what we pretty much said before the season. Fears and Jalen Moore are your 2 players. And
there's a reason,
probably one of his best games.
Nothing against those guys, but, guys from High Point and, places like that. These weren't the most sought after guys in the portal. I think we missed out on, some of those. We talked a lot about Brandon Garrison. Last pod, we talked about, the Padula kid from Evan Memorial. I don't know if we really got into him before, but that was another, just slam dunk that's going to happen. He ends up at Ole Miss. It's just, number one, there's a lack of NIL funds. And I think that's something that the next coach, whomever that may be, is going to have to figure out. But more importantly, it's talent evaluation. You can go and watch different teams with lesser NIL collectives than what we have, less paid rosters than what we have, and they've got better talent than we do. And so talent evaluation is to me the second biggest issue of the Porter Moser experience. The number one biggest issue is I don't think he ever really adapted to the talent that he had. I don't think we put us in the absolute best positions to win night after night, i.e. we don't run anything on offense.
Yeah, and the problem that I'm having is all the guys that's left and what they're doing elsewhere.
To quote the great philosopher Dick Goss, we are running a Leroy offense and we don't have a Leroy. And that's just kind of where it's at.
Hey, and before we get off basketball here, because we talked about it a little bit before we got off our emergency pod, I want to bring up something that we were talking about, and I've had a few guys on Twitter that I put out there. Rick Pitino, Kelvin Sampson. I'm not saying we can get either one of them, but like you said the other day, you got to ask them and have them tell you no. I mean,
Hey, quick aside, if you're like me and you're one of the few dinosaurs who still pays for DirecTV, do yourself and your DVR a favor. There's a documentary, Rick Pitino, they're following him this season, and they're also following Coach Cal at Arkansas. Two great documentaries. Those guys are just exactly who you think who they would be. Great story, quick story. Pitino was having dinner with his son the night before that they were going to play each other at Madison Square Garden. And Pitino was so dirty that he was trying to lie to his son about who was injured and was going to play the next day. And Pitino's wife, his son's mother, sat directly behind her son's bench, did not do the 50-yard line thing, directly behind and wore her son's team's colors. And Pitino said he didn't care. He would sleep in the city or in his office. It didn't bother him. So that's what we're looking for in a basketball coach, guys. Pure slime, pure sleaze, and someone who breathes, eats, sleeps winning.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, with Kelvin, people are like, why would Kelvin ever come back what he's built at Houston? I'm like, I'm not saying he will, but like we said, let him tell you no.
Yeah.
I mean,
why did Jim Knowles leave Ohio State to go to Penn State? No, he didn't have to come to Oklahoma. But
Lon Kruger, did anybody think Lon Kruger was coming to OU when he did?
No.
I didn't even, I mean, was his name even mentioned to come to OU? I don't remember his name being mentioned.
And that's the thing, and we'll kind of use this as a segue into other things. While there's lots of negativity around Joe C out there right now, Joe Castiglione is a very well-respected, very well-known athletic director. If you were to take a poll 3 years ago of who's the best athletic director in the country, or 5 years ago, it's probably Joe Castiglione is very, very high on that list. Now, has he evolved to everything on all this? Maybe, maybe not. We still turned a profit. Our friend Jarrett pointed out, used to work in the athletic department a little bit, that back when he was in college, there was only 2 schools, or 20 schools out of the whole D1 that actually turned a profit. And of the power schools, it was only 2. So we know what we're doing. He knows what he's doing. Look, he made a bad hire in men's basketball. It's still up in the air if he made a bad hire in football. And those are our 2 revenue sports. Those are the sports that most people watch. They're the sports that most people donate money toward. And we made a bad hire. It happens.
Yeah.
We're going to correct that after this season in basketball. We're going to see what next football season brings. And this next football season hold the future for Joe C. as well as Brent. It probably does. But I think we owe Joe C. enough to see how that goes and to go into it expecting good things.
Like we were talking before we came on, I think the problem we're getting is it's so glaring because we've done this the last 3 years in basketball.
Right. I mean, definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, me and Steve talked about it before we got on here. That's why I said we got to start recording this crap because we're saying so much good stuff. But it was like we said, this feels different. And then I started looking back. How many times have I said that in years past? It feels different. But, I mean, honestly, it did.
I mean, guys, we're Charlie Brown, and, we're running up there trying to kick that football. And, once again, Lucy, a.k.a. Porter, pulls the football back, and that's
college basketball.
It is what it is.
College basketball is tough. It is a tough sport to coach now.
Bill Self, great coach. I was watching Kansas play. If you want to talk about a team that looks almost as bad as Oklahoma, watch Kansas. Okay? They're done. It's a bad mix of people. I've never seen a Bill Self team. And look, my sister-in-law is a KU alum. Haven't really got a chance to talk to her a whole lot. But I guarantee you, Kansas fans are not accepting, oh, man, it's just a bad year. Bill will get it on back in shape. We see that because we're outside of that bubble. But I'm sure inside that bubble, it's chaos, just like OU football was chaos with us going, 6-6, 6-7.
Mm-hmm. That's just what I was about to say is KU basketball is like OU football. Like, you just don't go around and just start losing. And that's why it's so glaring with Brent Venables. It's like 2 out of the last 3 years losing seasons. What do they look at? They don't give a crap that you won 10 games in the middle, sandwich that in there. All they care about is, hey, our program looks like crap. And really, I talked about this on the podcast I was on Thursday. I said, I've said this. Our offense, we say they have a lot of pressure on them in football. I know we're kind of segueing into football here, and that's fine because I think we all need to get away from basketball. But our offense, Mateer don't have to be a Heisman Trophy winner. Arbuckle don't need to put up Lincoln Riley numbers. All he needs to do is just be consistent, sustained drives because our defense is what's going to carry us this year. So we put a lot of pressure on Arbuckle and say, like, well, he's got a lot of pressure. I'm like, he doesn't have to be great. We don't need Lincoln Riley offenses. I mean, we're not an offensive team. So
we need competence. And, something I think was a really big hire that we haven't got to talk a whole lot about on this pod is I really like the hire of Kevin Wilson.
Absolutely.
I think that's just – it makes such great sense. Essentially, he's going to fill the Matt Wells role that last time when Brent was calling the defense, he had Matt Wells who could kind of take over and do that and kind of be the head coach if Brent needed to do something. Anyone who doesn't know, yes, Kevin Wilson was the head coach at Tulsa. He's also head coach at Indiana, OC at Ohio State. All this after being a successful OC here at Oklahoma. Kevin Wilson's a football guy. He is a hard-nosed guy. And this is somebody that, great sounding board for Brent, too, on all this stuff. And what I really appreciate about Kevin Wilson, this is something I did worry about with Arbuckle maybe being the head coach of the offense. And he still is. I don't mean Wilson's going to go in there and tell Arbuckle what plays to run. But it's a great sounding board for Arbuckle. But I think even more importantly than that is Arbuckle's a young guy. Arbuckle, is making a big jump. And I know you can argue whether Washington State was a power school or not or whatever, but he's a young guy. It's going to be hard for him to tell BV no or to tell BV this, that, or whatever. It's not going to bother Kevin Wilson, okay? Kevin Wilson is – I was listening to something, maybe it was Gabe and Teddy, I forget who it was, or maybe I was reading this somewhere, just talking about some Kevin Wilson offenses going against some Brent Venable defenses on the rugby field, and it was just all out gladiator warfare against each other. And that's what we want. We want somebody to not be intimidated by BV. We want somebody who can chalk it up with him. And that's what I think Kevin Wilson can do. And we're not asking Kevin Wilson to go out and be the number one recruiter. We're not asking him to go be the play caller, but we're asking him to help be another adult in the room, which I don't ever think is a bad thing.
Hey, what you're asking Kevin Wilson to do is go coach football. And I don't know when the last time he's got to just go coach football.
Well, I think maybe his last year at Ohio State, maybe, right?
Yeah. And also,
that's what we want.
You hit the nail on the head there, too. BV and Kevin Wilson have won a lot of football games together. And Arbuckle can probably go to Kevin Wilson and say, hey, I'm thinking this. Can you mention this to Venables? Kevin Wilson goes in there, and hell, Kevin Wilson might see it before Arbuckle even tells him. He might say, hey, we need to look at going this route a little bit more on offense to help the defense out. It's like him and Brent have worked together. So I think it's a perfect fit. When he left or got let go at Tulsa, I thought, man, I really hope we bring him on it as an analyst because I just felt like he would help our program out so much. And the guy's a football coach, and maybe he needs to get back to coaching to get his and it's kind of what Saban used to do with a lot of these guys. Saban saved a lot of football coaches' careers by letting them be an analyst and letting them go coach football. These guys didn't forget how to coach football. Now, they might have lost the love a little bit. I can see with the NIL the way it is and the recruiting the way it is now, how some of these old-timers could probably start getting just to the point where they're just burnt out. And all they want to do is just go coach football. So there's just it's a good fit, I think. Another piece to our offense to help us maybe just grow.
And I think something that, not just in our friends group, but friends groups across Sooner fandom, when we hired Ben Arbuckle and we heard air raid, what did everybody say? Well, God dang, we're never going to run the football and, we're going to be soft as Charmin and blah, 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 blah. one thing Kevin Wilson can do, guys, is he can scheme up the run out of the gun.
Yeah.
If you ever heard of J.K. Dobbins? Okay, that was the Ohio State offense under Kevin Wilson.
DeMarco Murray.
I mean, like, guys,
because wasn't Murray there whenever Wilson was?
No, you're not thinking of Murray. No, the other. Oh crap! Bad podcasting. No, Murray was at the NFL at the time.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, we're going blank on who left OU and went to Ohio State to play there.
People are screaming at their phones.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah. But long story short, guys, this is the guy. Justin Fields played quarterback. Dwayne Haskins was a quarterback for him there too. But Trey Sermon, there's your OU running back. That was probably there. But Kevin Wilson is going to add toughness and help us make sure we run the football. And I just think, once again, it's a home run. It's what we needed. It's a really good thing for Brent. Nothing negative there. I'm not one of those guys who I keep up with recruiting probably more than a lot of people do, but I'm not one of those guys who just churns through recruit after recruit after recruit. I'll look into that more this summer once we start getting more commits and we get closer to that. And the way OU recruits right now, it's really a June thing, when they have their Champ U barbecues and that sort of thing. It's really where things get really serious. But all that being said, everything I have read is positive momentum on the recruiting trail. And I do kind of feel like maybe it's the crapdom of basketball, maybe it's everything else, but I do feel like the Sooner fans have a little bit of positive momentum about football, are kind of once again coming out, coming back out a little bit. And hopefully more of you guys will join us. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I really am. Maybe I'm excited to not have to talk about Porter Moser anymore. Maybe that's what it is. But once again, I'm not taking a personal shot at Porter. He's a good basketball coach. He's just miscast. Okay. I mean, this would be, like getting the guy from, Police Academy who made the noises to go and star in Schindler's List. Okay. It's a bad casting. Okay. That's not who we needed. Okay. We don't need Michael Winslow in that role. We don't need Porter Moser as the head coach of Oklahoma. So once again, getting excited here with this stuff. But
I guess if you can take any positive out of our basketball season, it's that. And really the problem with football has been, what's the sport right before football gets going? That ends. So it's like, hey, we won a 4th straight national championship. Now let's get ready for football.
Yeah.
And then our football team.
Okay, here's the thing, Jeremy, and let's spend 2 minutes on softball before we go on anything else, I guess. But softball, once again, domination down at Baylor. They're supposed to host, I don't know if they're calling it like the Sooner Invitational, the Norman Invitational,
and
something like that.
I think they pushed it back to Saturday.
Pushed it back.
Sunday,
I think it was supposed to be like a Saturday through Monday thing.
Mm-hmm.
Abilene Christian, Bowling Green, Tulsa. Wouldn't expect any fireworks out of that. But once again, just if you're in the Norman area, I don't have to ask people to go out and watch softball. That's something I think people are doing very well without us asking on that. But if you are in the Norman area and you are able to get out tomorrow night, the ladies host, I believe it's Vanderbilt, free admission at the LNC, $2 drinks, hot dogs, popcorn, all that stuff. So obviously we're not promoting drinking and driving on ice. We're not doing that, calling Uber, that sort of thing, or do as I would do and drink Dr. Peppers. But either way you look at that, if you are able, or in the Norman area, if you're able to get there tomorrow night, go out and support the ladies. Would be a really big boost to be able to host a regional. And I want to kind of dovetail that hosting a regional into all the negativity. Darinoka, OU alum, obviously wants things to go well, works for the SEC network. There's been a lot of narrative on there about how we're just not ready for the SEC and all that. And to me, I get that to some degree, but I go back to, guys, we made a couple of bad hires. We did. And that's going to happen from time to time. It is, okay? And we went to the SEC to win championships that matter. And we're going to lose more regular season games in a lot of the sports that we care about. But at the same time, I do think in the end, once we start getting our full share, remember this year, we're only getting a half share of our money. So that's $28 million we're not getting this year. It's going to continue to go up and up in the future. Let's get that. Oklahoma has shown we will funnel that back in. It's better times are ahead. We don't need to leave the SEC. Was I skeptical about joining the SEC in the beginning because worrying about winning and losing? Yeah, I was. Because I understand our fan base. We don't handle losing very well. We don't. Nobody really does. But, in Oklahoma, we invented winning, right? And so losing is hard for us. And that doesn't mean losing is ever going to be acceptable. But at the same time, understand there are some growing pains. And we're going through those. And go and support when you can, support financially, support in person. But if we host a regional for women's basketball, that's something we want. Let's all freaking try to be there. Mm-hmm. Those are the things to go and support. I'm not going to give you heck if you don't go to the Mississippi State basketball game or the Kentucky basketball game or the Mizzou basketball game, the 3 home games we've got left for the men's basketball. I understand that. They haven't done really anything to garner our support. Now, would love for you to be there, but I understand the choice you're making if you don't. And I say that big rant to just say, I'm not ready to leave the SEC after, 6-8 months? What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, what are we saying if we end up finishing off the A&M game at home and we beat LSU? Those are 2 more wins. Are we saying the same as we are right now? Yeah, we've had some bad luck, but that's the thing is we had some bad luck, absolutely. And to put like a little bow on the attendance and all that crap. I think I said at our emergency pod, I compare it to if I owned a restaurant and I served crap food for the last 3 years, I probably couldn't get upset if I served the same food and nobody came and they ate it. We have served crap food for the last now 4 years. And people are tired of it. And how do you, as fan bases, how do you get to?
And I think, and to me, okay, as a fan, we obviously want to have some control in how our favorite sports, our favorite activities go. How can we show people that we are not pleased with the state of the men's basketball program? How can we show people that? We can show them a couple of different ways.
Yeah, don't give them some of this.
The easiest one is we don't pay the admission and we don't go to the game. And that's the easiest way to show it. And to me, if I'm Joe C., that's something I'm looking at as I'm making this decision.
Yeah.
Can I, what's going to end up costing me more, this buyout or alienating my fan base by bringing this back another year, And do we really think it would be any better next year? Do we have any indication that that would be so? No, we don't. And, if you're a really good guard in the portal, what have we shown that we're going to do that? Obviously, if you're big in the portal, you just hit delete whenever you get that number sent in. New phone, who dis? So
what if
that's understandable. I understand why people aren't going. That's okay. They're upset.
Yeah, because what's going to happen if, let's say Moser does get another year and we go off and reel off 13 wins again non-conference, do you think people are going to still show up? No, because you know what you're going to say? Got to see it in the conference play. And what did we say? Man, it seems different, but we'll have to wait and see what happens in the conference play. And God dang it, if it didn't do the same thing as we've done the last year.
Here's the deal, Jeremy. What if we go out and lose to Michigan next year in football? Is that going to hurt our attendance?
No.
No. We're still going to have people show up to football because we're a football school. But how do people show their displeasure in football?
Yeah,
they boo. They gripe. They start podcasts. Okay. They do. There's other outlets for that.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's just what we're doing. We're exercising what we can exercise. And, going back to football, it's positive things. It is. But here's the truth, and obviously, I'm not telling you not to listen to us again until the football season starts. But we don't know. This time last year, I was sunshine pumping Jackson Arnold like like I was on freaking Teletubbies with the with the Sun Babies. Okay, that's what I was doing. I mean, I thought Jackson Arnold, J.A. man, screw Nico, that's the best guy. Everybody's forgetting him. J.A. for Heisman. I really thought that. Well, now I'm all in on John Mateer. But if I'm wrong, well, probably won't be for Brent Venables the next year after that.
Hey, you know who we need Mateer to be? Landry Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, Landry Jones, my father-in-law despises every inch of Landry Jones to this day. He says he's the worst quarterback to ever play. I said I'd take about 100 of him right now.
Yeah. Did your father-in-law not watch the last season?
Good Landry Jones would fit into this with our defense the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's what we need from Mateer. We don't need Mateer to be in New York and a Heisman finalist. We need Mateer. Don't make dumb mistakes. Don't make Jackson Arnold mistakes at Missouri.
I did see somebody put out, I forget, and I'm sorry, we try to give credit here to our sources when we read stuff, but one of the beat reporters put out that, so far so good on the receiving unit, everyone still has working limbs, arms and legs. So we are way ahead on the receiver core, but that's what we need. And I'm interested to see what happens after the spring portal. I am.
Yeah.
I do think there'll be a little bit more movement. Won't be shocked if it's a minus a running back. Won't be shocked if it's plus another receiver or a tight end. And, once again, I didn't mention his name for 2 pods, but let's talk a little Joe Jon right here. And does it frustrate me to all heck that Joe Jon still has a job? You bet. I think it's been a brutal job building that tight end room.
Mm-hmm.
But just like how Jeremy and I told you in November that Porter Moser's future was tied to Jeremiah Fears, Joe Jon's future is tied to Davion Mitchell. Maybe Davion Mitchell is that guy. Maybe he is. Maybe Davion Mitchell is Jermaine Gresham and Gronk had a baby and, that's who he is. We don't know. But because we couldn't even get him in the bowl game this year. But, maybe that's what it is. And maybe that's why. Maybe Davion pulled the Jimmy Chitwood, coach stays, I play, coach leaves, I go, kind of deal. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe that's what happened. But all that being said, guys, when you're looking on paper, and we know what on paper gets us, but you're looking on paper, Jeremy, tell me where the biggest holes are on this football team right now. Where are they?
Well, I mean, tight end to me is your biggest hole. Receiver, just because of the question marks, you don't know what you're getting with them. And
the bar is so low there. I mean,
it is.
Good gravy.
I mean, and also if you're going in that regards, I think offensive line.
Yeah.
It's just because you've got so many young guys and guys that they have potential to be a very good group, but
here's the deal. The first time, let's say Fasusi's not starting game 1. If Fasusi's not starting game 1 and we give up a sack, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It can come from a corner blitz.
The completely other side of the field that Fasusi had been on.
My season tickets are right by some of our friends, and I'm going to look over there, and they're going to look over at me, and we're going to be like, why is Fasusi not in the game? And, I'm like, I don't know. It would be if I was coaching.
Like a major league, whenever he goes out there, they're going to go like this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And
it gives up a sack. They're like,
yeah, exactly. But that's just where we're at. And that's okay. That's a good place to be. I mean, we're not going to be perfect. I mean, I've still got some questions at linebacker because our depth scares me a little bit there. I wish we had one more, person that we were comfortable putting out there at linebacker next year. But you know what? We don't right now. Maybe we get that in the spring portal. Maybe we don't. But this is the kind of fun stuff to talk about. We're not talking about oh man, what have we got on on like the defensive line? And we saw how important that is. And
Yeah.
something that's a little bit interesting to me too, and we're not going to know this against Illinois State and that sort of thing either. But I mean, who's the best team in the SEC next year, Jeremy?
Who is the best team in SEC?
I think
Georgia?
the popular opinion is probably Texas, right? Texas lost a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Texas did stuff this year that I thought that they lost too many key pieces. I thought was losing Worthy and just Sweat and all those. I just thought like those are too big of pieces for them to win a national championship. Now I thought they were good, and it kind of. I'm not saying I thought they're going to go to the semifinals. I thought they could make the playoffs. I just don't think they're deep enough to make it. And Arch Manning, like next year with Texas, guys, you want somebody who's got a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah.
Arch Manning's got the most pressure on him. Now that said, his last name's Manning, so I'm sure he's dealt with that his whole life. But also, too, they think he is a savior, and he hasn't.
Right. I mean, what if he's Jackson Arnold?
Yeah.
I spent, if there had been a podcast here in the last 2 years, it would have been me telling you that I think Jackson Arnold's better than Arch Manning. I think he was better than Arch Manning in high school. What little bit I'd seen told me he was going to be better and that sort of thing. So now I just really, really hope that's true, because if it is,
Hey, not to mention, we've had a situation. His name's Spencer Rattler. That we thought we had the next coming. I mean, Spencer Rattler was the top 5 projected pick.
Yeah.
After his first full season with OU. So.
And I mean, and you just don't know. But to me, yeah, there's a tier. There's Texas is in that tier. I mean, maybe this is some recency bias for me because I went down there and watched. I mean, Nussmeier's pretty good. LSU, I think, is going to be pretty good. But take that tier down. I mean, Tennessee lost a lot. I know they've got Nico back. Ole Miss lost their entire team. Alabama is in kind of a state of change and flux, obviously going on there. To be Florida is a team that could sneak up on some people, built a little bit of momentum, coming back from there. So, we don't know. I don't know. The point I'm saying with that is, this is a team I think we're going to know a lot about, this OU football team, September 6th against Michigan. I think we're going to know a lot.
Yeah.
I hope to win that game. I expect to win that game. Think we will win that game. Then we go to Temple. That's a game, we should win. Then huge game, you get Auburn at home. Right now, do I think Jackson Arnold will be the quarterback for Auburn when that starts? I do not. I think they brought in some other people. I saw enough of the JA experience last year. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kent State after that. Then we play Texas, and that's when the season, really gets ramped up and going. And I won't go through the rest of the schedule today, but I just throw out that portion of the schedule just to let people know, our minds are already rotating over there just like yours are. We're going to have a lot to say about all those games, but just know optimism's here. I think our matchup, I think at the positions that are really hard to get, we're pretty good. Yeah. I think we're good up front. I think we've got playmakers at linebacker. I think we got playmakers in the secondary. I'm with Jeremy. I don't know if we have playmakers at receiver. I don't know about John Mateer, but he's done it at the collegiate level. So that makes you feel better there. Mike Hawkins is a pretty darn good backup if something would go down with Mateer injury-wise. Feel pretty good about that. And, we'll see at running back too. I think there's talent there. Can we stay healthy? Can we get there? But I wouldn't trade rosters with a lot of people, Jeremy. I really wouldn't. And I forgot to say Georgia, guys. Georgia's always going to be good.
Yeah, we've got, and we have the talent. Like, I'm really interested because after I watched Salchuk in the bowl game, I realized how injured he was all season. I thought everybody just passed him, but I think
he had 3 runs in the first half, longer than anything he had all year.
So. Yes, and that's what I'm saying is he's a name that I think a lot of people aren't mentioning just because you got Barnes coming back, you got Robinson, you got Tatum, and I'm like Salchuk's kind of just after the Arizona game, and usually in every bowl game he plays good, but
Let's just
You
hope
know,
that's in
I
the
think-
playoffs next year.
yeah. I'm like, thank God if we go to the playoffs, I'm like, hey, put
Yeah.
Gavin
Sawchuck's
Sawchuk in.
going to be freaking Adrian Peterson if we get to the playoffs.
It's Sawchuk's time to shine, baby.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of question marks, but I think they're trending up in my regards, a lot more than what it was at the end of the season. So,
Yeah. Let's
guys,
just,
one thing I'll tell everybody is just like keep taking optimism to football going into it, because I was so worried we're gonna go into football season being like, let's just get this over with. And I think
I mean,
we
guys,
start making
here's the
those
deal,
moves.
guys, and maybe it's because I've been watching too many inspiring sports movies during my I stint here. I've watched Remember the Titans, Angels in the Outfield, and Glory Road in the last 24 hours. So I am pumped up and ready to go for everybody. But I just say this: life's too short to just live with hate and joylessness on this. As Sooner fans, it's something we all are in common with each other with. You want me to listen to this pod if you weren't a Sooner fan, or my mom. And you know, the reason that we're in this, the reason we care so much about Oklahoma football, and the reason we care about Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma athletics in general, is it's a special place, and we all want to win together. We all want to do things together, but let's just rally around each other and know this is a great place. It is. You know, Oklahoma, this is a tough state. I mean, we have the weather like we have right now, where it's going to be below zero tonight. And in the summer, we get, you know, where it boils out there. And so that's just who we are. We're a tough state. We're a chip on our shoulder state. And let's just take that chip through softball season. Let's, you know, drive for 5. Let's go win that bad boy. Let's go to baseball season. And you know what? Our stadium may suck, but you know what's freaking good? Our pitching. And do you think anyone gives a rat's, you know, what's the best stadium in Major League Baseball? Okay. Does that matter on who wins? You know, no, it doesn't. And so I say that we want to up our investments in everything we do. And it would be great. You know, there was a picture of Elon where he had the OU softball team on his desk. It'd be great if Elon would, you know, send some of the money, send some cash our way. But whether or not we have big money donors or not, guys, stay with us, stay with the fight. Oklahoma athletics, we're going to get through this. It does mean more to us too. We're in the right place. The SEC is going to fit for us. We're just having a bad year. We just don't.
Yeah, and if you're upset about the way the baseball field looks, just drive down the field and go look at Love Field. We have the best softball field in
the country, right?
Softball. Yeah, nobody compares our softball field. So,
and you know,
it's like our friend Nathan said: if you build it, they will come. Well, Patty built it with a winner, and that's basically what built Love Field. Yeah. And that's really, I mean, guys, that's why I said, if you're going to look at building a facility, Elldale either needs to be renovated or they need to put a new field on there, because basketball hasn't earned it.
And here's the deal. I mean, as we start getting more money in from the SEC, guys, we're going to be able to do these things. That's part of the reason we joined this conference, is to get that money that we're going to get in there. What conference do you think is going to get the biggest TV money for every sport? The SEC. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we're there. And, you know, baseball was national runner-up, 2 years ago? So it's not like it's ancient history when that was really relevant. You know, beautiful park. Have you ever been to O'Brate at OSU? Beautiful baseball park. Beautiful. But guess who's went farther in the playoffs the last 2 years? Since O'Brate's been built, they haven't went as far as OU has either year. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so it's not all about facilities. It's about hiring the right coach. It's about having the right players. It's about toughness. It's about fan support. And sometimes it's about a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
And we can't control all those things, but we can control some of them.
Yeah. Hey, before we get off here, I want to mention this little thing about softball. Guys, you can bookmark this right now. The next big player for OU, Sydney Barker, freshman, kid's a stud. And just another chip to put on Patty Gasso's.
You know who doesn't have a problem
like,
evaluating talent?
no.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, Patty Gasso, and I make my softball girls watch this probably twice a season, and that is when she talks about how she recruits girls. It is an amazing thing to watch. I can probably tell you she watches about 30% of them playing, and the rest of it is how they interact with their team and how she watches them with their players or her parents. She said, if I watch a kid's parents carrying one of their kids' bags, that's an instant red flag. So believe me, I've told my kid that. My kid, we never carry my kids' bags. She said, I watch how she goes, I don't go watch games that I know they're going to win. I watch games that I think they're going to get beat because I want to see how they handle it, how they deal with it. So it's like you listen to stuff like that, and I mean, Patty Gasso is probably one of the best softball coaches of all time. She will, when she retires, she'll go down as that. But I think we look at it a lot of time as like, man, look at that stud right there. Well, do they fit what you're doing? Do they fit your program?
Well,
and I think that's Porter's problem.
And I think but to play a little devil's advocate to that stuff, that's easier for Patty to do because it's not a tough recruiting sell for OU softball, right?
Yeah.
You walk in, it's the old Pat Riley when he got LeBron to come sign with the Heat. Allegedly, what Pat Riley did is he just walked into the meeting room, threw down his 5 championship rings on the desk, and walked back out.
Mm-hmm.
Said, if you want those, come with me.
Yeah.
And that's what Patty can do too. And, Porter obviously doesn't have that. But like Jeremy said, there's got to be non-negotiables. There's got to be things and tangible things that mean to you. Brent talks about the standard. And that's what good coaches talk about. And Brent's a good coach. Once again, this is me advocating for Brent's bad luck. But I truly feel that Brent has had bad luck, and that's going to get turned around. And once again, guys, thanks for the support of this podcast. Thanks for the support of Sooner Athletics. Jeremy and I really appreciate the interaction that we've had with everybody. And continue to like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you've got an email you would like to send to us, soonercast@gmail.com. We would love to mix it up with you there as well.
Yeah. And this is something me and Steve have this is how our podcast consists of, is just how we talk in general. So, I mean, it's a fan podcast. So, like, we want interaction with other fans. We want people to ask, hey, if you ask us a question or
and if you
say
want us
something,
if you're like, okay, you sunshine pumping wimps, we freaking sucked last year. That's unacceptable. You're dang right it is. We agree with that. Okay. And I don't want that. But I also understand, like, there's a time to throw a fit and there's time to not. I'm throwing a fit about basketball because I want to see that change take place. Mm-hmm. I don't think Joe C is going to dial me up. But if he does, I want to be like, yeah, you need to go a different direction with men's basketball.
Well, the problem is that me and Steve were at OU whenever Hollis Price and that group was there, and we know what OU.
Despite the fact we look like we're only 28.
I know. I mean, I maybe needed to color my beard, but I know we look great. And people are like, no way they were there then. Yeah. But you know what? That's no, but we know what OU basketball can be. And, I mean, we've watched Buddy Hield.
It's a great program, guys. And I won't listen to people tell me, oh, well, we can't compete to Alabama and Auburn. Alabama and Auburn suck as a basketball program compared to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They do. Yeah. The Mississippi schools suck as a basketball program compared to Oklahoma. Okay. Oklahoma is a really good basketball program, and we have really great practice facilities. If you've never been to the men's or women's practice facilities, those things are great. Those offices are great. We've got great weight rooms. We've got great setups there. Our in-game arena needs work, but the stuff that those guys are in all the time is in good shape. It's not a bad job. It's not. Yeah. Do we need a jolt? We need a jolt, and I hope that jolt is some of the people we talked about last week, and we'll probably get more into that next week. I think the next time we talk, we'll probably have played Mississippi State and Kentucky. So, we'll see how that goes. Actually, I think the Kentucky game may be like while we're doing our next pod. I think
we'll have already lost one and about to lose another.
Yeah, and so we may do it before. We'll probably do it before the Kentucky game. But either way,
you don't want to miss that.
Thanks everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Boomer Sooner, and like Steve said, subscribe to YouTube. Follow us on Apple and Spotify.
We did gain a couple of subscribers, I think, since last time.
Yeah, keep them coming, guys.
So,
yeah, absolutely. All right,
the drive for 100 continues.
Yeah, until next time, guys. Boomer Sooner.
Boomer.